Hello everyone, Mr. Price here, continuing our read aloud. We had just completed chapter 13, where Kenny and Byron battled the whirlpool, which I hope you figured out was a whirlpool. And Kenny was just drowning and Byron saved him. But that takes us to chapter 14, which is titled Every Bird and Bug in Birmingham Stops and Wonders. I know it was Sunday because I heard Joetta getting ready for Sunday school. Neighbors came and got her as soon as I got out of bed. I was standing in the doorway of the bedroom doing my morning scratches when she walked by. "Hi, Kenny. See you later." "Bye, Joey." She had on a fluffy white skirt, a regular blouse, and little white gloves Grandma Sands had made for her. I don't know why, but I said, "Joey?" She stopped. "Huh." I couldn't think why I called her name, so I just kind of threw out, "You look real pretty." She smiled and thanked me. She did look kind of pretty too. She had on a lacy white hat and little lacy white socks in her shiny, shiny black shoes. The people that came to get her saw me and one of them said, "How come you ain't coming to Sunday school, young man?" I smiled and I said, "I forgot to get up in time." Everybody in the house knew that was a lie, but no one seemed to care. I wondered if there was something wrong with me because it was real easy for me to lie, even to a pack of religious people on Sunday morning. I had my cereal and went out into the backyard. It was too hot even this early in the morning, so I walked over to the giant magnolia tree and rested in the coolness of its shade. All the energy was gone from me already. It had been a few days since I almost got snatched by the whirlpool, and I still felt weak and tired at the same time. Byron had made me promise not to tell anyone what had happened, so everybody thought I was just being lazy. I heard people waking up and moving around inside, but I figured I was too tired to go to speak to anyone. Mama stuck her head out of the back door and got ready to yell for me, but when she saw me plop down at the foot of the tree, she smiled. "Well, Kenneth, I thought you wandered off. How are you this morning?" "It was too hot to sleep." "Think you can last one more week?" "Uh-uh. Well, isn't this better than winter up north?" "Quit teasing, Mama. You know it isn't. I wish I was back in our igloo in Flint." She laughed and the screen door closed behind her. I started going to sleep under the tree and I thought I was dreaming when the noise came. I felt it more than heard it. The giant magnolia tree shook one more time like something had given it a hard snatch by the roots. Then there was a sound like a far-off thunderstorm coming, except it only thundered one long time. It seemed like every animal and bird and bug in Birmingham stopped making noise for about 2 seconds. It seemed like everything that was alive stopped whatever it was doing and was wondering the same thing. What was that noise? Doors opened in the neighborhood and people came out and looked up in the sky, but there was nothing there. Not one cloud. Nothing to give a clue to what the big hollow sound was. Nothing but bright, hot, stupid Alabama sun. Dad came to the back door, in pajama pants and a t-shirt. "What was that? Was that back here?" I shook my head. He looked like a bell went off in his head. "Oh, Lord, where's Byron?" Byron poked his head out of the door, still in his underpants and still doing morning scratches. "What?" he said. "I didn't do nothing. I was asleep. What was that bang?" Dad kept looking toward the sky and said, must have been a sonic boom." He closed the screen door. If this had happened in Flint, I would have investigated to find out what it was, but that horrible sun had sucked all the curiosity out of me. I leaned back against the tree and closed my eyes. I don't know if I got to sleep or not, but Mama's scream made me jump nearly to the magnolia's top branch. I'd never heard Mama's voice sound so bad. I felt like I did that time I stuck a bobby pin in a wall socket. I ran to the door and into the house, and Bi almost knocked me over running back toward the bedroom. "What's wrong with Mama?" I asked. I looked in the living room, but Mama and Dad weren't there. I ran back to the bedroom where Byron was trying to wrestle into a pair of pants. "Why? What happened?" He got his pants up and said, "A guy just came by and said somebody dropped a bomb on Joey's church." And he was gone, exploding out of the front door, trying to zip up his pants at the same time he ran off the porch. Some of the time I wondered if something really was wrong with me. Byron had just told me that someone dropped a bomb on Joey's church, hadn't he? If that was true, why did I just stand there looking stupid? If that was true, why was I only thinking about how much trouble Bi was going to be in when they heard how loud he slammed the screen door? And asking myself, why hadn't he put on his shoes? His socks wouldn't last 2 minutes on the Alabama mud. I ran out onto the porch and into the street. It looked like someone had set off a people magnet. It seemed like everyone in Birmingham was running down the street. It looked like a river of scared brown bodies was being jerked in the same direction Bi had gone. So I followed. I guess my ears couldn't take it, so they just stopped listening. I could see people everywhere making their mouths go like they were screaming and pointing and yelling, but I didn't hear anything. I saw Mama and Dad and Byron holding on to each other, all three of them looking like they were crazy, trying to keep each other away from the pile of rocks that used to be the front of the church. Mama was so upset that she even forgot to cover the space in front of her teeth, or in her front teeth, excuse me. I couldn't hear her, but I'd bet $1,000,000 she was shouting, "Why?" over and over like a real nut. It looked like Dad's mouth was yelling, "Joetta!" I was kind of surprised no adult stopped me from walking right up to the church. I got right next to where the door used to be when the guy came out with a little girl in his arms. He had on the same thing Dad did, a t-shirt and pajama pants, but it looked like he'd been painting with red paint. The little girl had on a blue dress and little blue frilly socks and shiny black shoes. I looked into the church and saw smoke and dust flying around like a tornado was in there. One light from the ceiling was still hanging down by a wire, flickering and swinging back and forth. And every once in a while I could see stuff inside. I could see a couple of grown-ups moving around looking lost, trying to pick things up. Then the smoke would cover them, and the bulb would flicker out and they'd disappear. I could see Bibles and coloring books thrown all over the place. Then they'd get covered by the smoke. I could see a shiny black shoe lying halfway underneath some concrete. Then it got covered with smoke, and then the light bulb flickered out again. I bent down to pull the shoe from under the concrete and tugged and pulled at it, but it felt like something was pulling it back. All the hair on my head jumped up to attention. The light flickered back on, and the smoke cleared, and I could see that hanging on the other end of the shoe was a giant gray hand with cold, hard, square fingers. Uh-oh. I looked up and saw a familiar guy before he got covered with smoke. He looked at me and I saw he had big square shoulders and nothing where his face should have been. The wool poo. Aw, man. I gave the shoe one more hard tug and it popped loose from a frilly white sock. I got real scared. I walked as slowly and as quietly as I could out of the church. Maybe if I moved quietly he wouldn't come for me. Maybe if I walked and didn't look back he'd leave me alone. I walked past where the adults were still screaming and pointing. Walked past where that guy had set the little girl in blue, next to where someone else had set a little girl in red. I knew if Joey sat down next to those two, their dresses would make the red, white, and blue of the American flag. Grown-ups were kneeling down by them, and the adults' hands fluttered down toward the little girls, then, before they touched anything, fluttered back up over and over, their hands looking like a little flock of brown sparrows that were too nervous to land. I walked past people lying around in little balls in the grass, crying and twitching. I walk past people squeezing each other and shaking. I walk past people hugging trees and telephone poles, looking like they were afraid they might fly off the earth if they let go. I walk past a million people with their mouths wide open and no sounds coming out. I didn't look behind me and walked back as quick as I could to Grandma Sam's house. And I'm terribly sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but we're gonna have to stop right there for the day. But we will pick up and we will finish chapter 14 tomorrow. Um, it's a hard chapter to hear. It's definitely very solemn. Sad thinking about the people in that church. We'll find out how the story continues. We don't have too much left of it. Getting down to the nitty gritty. See, come a long way. Anyways, please remember to complete your exit ticket. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon.